What's good with it? In the hood with it? You already know what it is. This is Gunner's Profiles, where we're gonna get it in. We're gonna make the beat go boom. We're not gonna add preservatives. We're not gonna do none of that right here. We're just gonna keep it real. Wanted to tell a story. Something that happened in my city, in my town, that created the dope sound. Orderly 209's most vicious. Don't get it twisted. Merced, California. Now, there's plenty of things that happen with law enforcement in every state. People don't see eye to eye. There's cats, there's dogs. There's cops, there's robbers. There's opposite sides of the coin. And in any case, Vatos are just trying to do their job, and Vatos are doing their highlight to get away from the individuals that are doing their jobs. And I understand that. It's very unfortunate when someone that's just doing their job comes up short, or, an incident takes place and guns are pulled or things of that nature and someone loses their life. But there's some people that ain't going out like that. I've had homeboys that have told me that have done long stretches in the CDC, and have got out and like, hey, I ain't going back, bro. I ain't going back, period, no matter what. It's going to take a lot to get me to go back, and I'm going to go out swinging, And I used to tell them, hey, to each their own. If you feel that's what's justifiable in your life, if you feel that's the route you want to go, then do what you does, cuz. On power! Ain't no one going to try to stop you. But don't be mad, when they want to put you to sleep permanently, because they're not playing. They got to do what they got to do for their self-preservation, for their safety and security, for their protection. So I understand. Again, I don't condone the violence on either behalf. It's just part of the game. It's what happens. I've been in positions where, and I'm going to tell you a little story. I've been in a position where I was actually with some Hampton, and we were looking for a certain dude. I'm not going to tell you who was with me, but we were looking for a certain individual, and we had him. We knew he was in a house, and we're kicking back in a carro, and it's like, if he comes out, it's a rapalapagus. It's a done dilly. And I remember sitting down, I'm sitting in the back seat of the car, and I'm thinking to myself, damn, that author doesn't even know. He doesn't know we're out here. Or maybe he does. One never knows, does one. But at the end of the day, the position he's in and that we're in it's an ugly situation for him. But it's over for him. Now, he put himself in that situation where we had to make that next move, our best move. Now, of course, it never transpired. It never happened. I don't know if it was a stroke of luck or maybe he did spot us. But a placa rolled by and foiled the plan. And we got on down the road, never to return, right? And to just let that go, and we'll catch you another day. And that's just how that went. But, I can understand that at that point in time, we were under the mindset that if we were to get pulled over, or if anything was to happen, then it was a shoot 'em up, bang, bang situation with the placas indeed. And it's not that I wanted to go that route, because I know that if you mess with those people, man, it's going to be an ugly situation for you your whole time incarcerated. You're going to be considered a cop killer, and that's a bad look. But it is what it is. And at that time, when you're involved in the mix, and depending on the makeup of the situation, it is what it just, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I said, let it happen. Hey, let it happen. Right now, guard! You might not want to listen to this. There was an individual in Merced, and there's a lot of stories that are told about this particular officer, Officer Gray. I had interaction with him. He pulled me over before. I remember he was very tough. He was one of those cops that he was tough yet firm in his stance, meaning he knew the streets. Having been a gang unit officer, he knew who was who, what was going on. He wasn't a dumb individual. Okay, he was one of those placas that as long as you're straight up with them, he's not going to try to delve into what you know or where you're getting this from, or he already knew. He already knew what was up. He didn't have to ask you no questions. You didn't have to tell him no lies. I said, get out the new. You know what I mean? That's just his get down. That was his style. I never seen anything crooked about him. There was a lot of whispers, and we're going to get into all that he was doing some very unsavory things. But I never seen that. Anytime I had any dealings with him pulling me over, or, me being snatched up in the county, sitting there, him see me, he always kept it respectful. He knew me by name. He knew me by gang moniker. He knew what water I was from. He knew my family. He knew my peoples. It was kind of like, there you are, huh? I knew it. And I'm like, thank you, catch me if you can. And that's just how that relationship went. Again, he never asked me too much. I was never going to tell him too much anyways. That was the get down. And that's going to continue. See that? I ain't going to tell him. That's going to continue to be. I ain't definitely going to tell him. So that's how that went. You know, so when people ask me about him and I hear all these different things spoken about this officer who's no longer with us, and we're going to get to that right now. That's the gist of the story. I could say that I can't sit here and say that he was corrupt or he was crooked or he was into any extracurricular activities other than what I heard, because the word on the curb was different. You know, the streets talked. I didn't. And that's just it. So the interactions was like that. It was just all professional. Hey, got you, handcuffs, like, gang, no, right, and boom, throw him in the car, and you know what I mean? That's good. Duck your head, make sure I don't bump it, and that was it. I know he was a gang officer for a minute, and so him having knowledge of the streets and being aware of the surrounding areas, he kind of knew everybody. He had a vendetta. And for some reason, officers do that. Even gang members do that. People do that. You get a vendetta for one reason or another. You don't like a certain gang or a group. And it's like they make it their whole goal or their whole thing in life to eradicate this water or this hood, this turf, this clique, this gang. Or they just, and I know it happened in Fresno a lot. They actually had a gang unit called Magic that their whole thing was to get the bulldogs off the streets, by any means necessary. And there was a lot of corruption going on and a lot of just, he said, she said, that she said, that he said. Like, I don't know. I just know that they were snatching dogs. Perros were getting snatched up. And I heard about that from a few different dogs and from a few different people that just lived in the city of Fresno. Because it wasn't just bulldogs. It was a little bit of everyone, any gang members. But the main focus was the perro chatos. This is way back in the days. Real ones from Fresno know what Magic was. And if it continues to carry on, I don't know. But I remember Rambo was doing his thing. And there was a whole bunch of different cops that had different names. The Terminator. These ones were really out there handling their business, scraping people. Now, this officer took a particular dislike to a group called the Merced Gangsta Crips, the MGCs, right? Which at that time were our rivals and continue to be our rivals. You know about that right there? They're our rivals. They're going to continue to be our rivals. So get up, Turkey, and do what you does with the Africana brothers. I had a lot of friends that I grew up with that I went to school with before I got incarcerated in YA that were from MJC or MGC, Merced Gangsta Crips. So my relationship with them again was cordial, respectful until it got funky. Very professional until it got funky. And then when it got funky, it got real slimy, grimy. That's just how it is. That's part of being a gang member. It's good until it isn't. It's all good until it isn't. And then it is what it is when it is what it is. So that's how that was going back in them days. There was guerra. There was people getting hit. There was people getting shot, blasted, things of that nature. Now, we were a lot deeper than the Merced Gangsta Crips, so we didn't see them as much as you would think. It seemed like they would have a little set core group of hitters, then they would all get locked up together, and then they'd come out, they'd get back to hitting, and then they'd get back to shitting, right? And it was a repeat cycle, and we had so many soldados, so much people in the barrio. We really paid them no never mind. It was like if you catch them in traffic, try to knock the Jericho juice about their head. If not, then that's what that was. Not on no racial stuff or anything like that. It wasn't a black and brown per se. It was a barrio on hood thing. It was just, we just didn't get along. I didn't even know the whole basis, the reason behind it. I got out of jail and got right into the program. We don't like the about this? Okay, we don't. And that was it. That's all the homies needed to tell me. Hey, ask and you shall receive. But I never asked because I didn't care. It just was what it was, man. Program time. Roll your mattress. So I never asked why. I just did it. So anyways, this officer took a particular, I don't even know how to say that word, particular dislike to this group. Okay? This gang. Now, word on the curb was he was using some unsavory tactics, some crooked tactics. All the way up to the point where what a lot of people said, and this is just word on the curb, man. Again, I'm not here to disrespect his, he's passed now. Not here to disrespect his memories or his family, but I will say, the truth and what I know. And in this story, it's, if you just take it for what it is, man. I'm not going to speak untruths here. There's more to it that I can't speak on, but I'm just going to tell you a little something. Word was that he was the type of individual to lock you up and then double back to your old lady's house. Excuse me, man. Are you Tyrell's old lady? We'll trip out here. Adjusting this shit, right? The wind's blowing. And the wind's going to continue to blow on Tuesday at court. Now, we can make the wind blow right now, it being Friday. Or you can just blow. and then we could work something out at court. He was pulling those tactics, you know, and I heard that he did that several times where he would actually get people incarcerated and then double back and go to their lady's house and try to get at them for one reason or another. You know, this was the word on the curb. We were hearing about this, and I remember it never happened to any of my homeboys, so, you know, thinking we got buck wild. But that's what I was hearing he was doing with the Africano brothers, the Crips especially, for one reason or another. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say he was siding with the Sangres, because at that time there wasn't very many Bloods. I mean, I think there was Westside Merced original Bloods and Northside Piru in Merced, and the Crips and Bloods they weren't really funking like that. There was more of a truce there. A lot of them were family members. They all grew up together, so the funk wasn't on. It was more with the Norteños and just that group. We were cool with the Bloods. It was all good. It's a weird makeup. You know, I understand. Gangs is gangs, man. Politics is politics. Things happen. It's just the way the world works. But anyways, so I don't know why he had this vendetta, but he definitely did. And what happens eventually is, you see the thumbnail, man. There was a Crip. I actually went to school with this dude. I remember him. You know, Bullet. Tal Rivera. He was a Mexicano. You know, that was a Crip. He was from Merced Against the Crips, allegedly. And he was with that smoke, Combs. You know, he was a real one. I remember that during the time of war, we used to say, hey, if we catch this one, you know, he was a trophy. We need him. We need him because not only was he Mexicano, we felt not disrespected by that, but we just felt it was necessary for us to get with his program, right? And he was taking fools out, man. Not like necessarily killing them, but I mean with the hands. The Vato was down. You know, he would jump off the car and let the wigglization be real. I remember he downed a couple of my homeboys, and a couple of my homeboys got with this program too. So it was tit for tat, tat for tit. It was going back and forth with that cat. But he was definitely considered in Merced, you know, someone that was about the business, and someone not to be taken lightly, and someone definitely that if you caught him, he was never lacking. So I guess, according to what I heard, gente, you know, and this is an old story in Merced, you know, something that happened in the early 2000s. I guess, you know, he went through the same type of situation with this officer, you know, where he got caught up, got placed in county for one reason or another, and this cop tried to double back and get at his lady, and of course she wasn't giving up the ghost, or maybe she did. The wind blew. One never knows, does one. I wasn't the cucaracha on the kitchen stove, but one thing I can tell you is for sure is it got back to her old man when he got out, and he was feeling some type of way about it. Now, a grown man will. Some guys, they're not dumb enough to go against the system. They're like, nah, that's a placa right there. Yeah, I know you probably gave him the better money than you gave me. But at the same time, they're not gonna go the extra route to you know, pull up on this guy or to, you know, give him any type of smoke. They'll see him and maybe mean mug him. He'll be like, what, you want to get arrested? No, I'm sorry about that. You know, did she lick your balls though? You know what I mean? They're not gonna do all that. But Tal was different. You know, whatever he felt this guy was doing to him, he felt like this guy, not only did he try to come at his lady like that, but Tal also felt that this guy continued to pick on him and bully him and harass him. And you know, you can only take so much, especially when you're someone who's in the mix, who's well respected, who ain't no punk and ain't no sucker, and ain't gonna let any man knock you down or any man just get at you any old type of way. A lot of people say, you bleed just like me. You are just like me. You just got a protective vest and a badge. And, you know, like I said, I don't condone violence, you know, and it's unfortunate that it had to go this route. But he was feeling some type of way. So the story goes, you know, that he got involved himself in a crime. And this guy, you know, took it upon himself. Maybe it's because he was a gang officer. It was his job. But he took it upon himself to search for Tal and to look for Tal. And he ended up running into Tal driving. And there was, of course, a short pursuit that ensued, and bullets were fired. And this cop was you know, ultimately he was gone. And Tal ended up getting caught, and he ended up getting busted. I remember it was a real big case, and he ended up getting caught, and ultimately he did catch the death penalty. Capital punishment was inflicted. He got the death penalty. You know, it'd be like that. It was such a big case, especially in our area, because everybody knew the cop. Everybody knew Tal was just like, wow, damn, he smoked them, right? Allegedly. And then that's just how it went down. But people seen it coming. You know, that's what, like I said, word on the curb, the streets talk. They were like, hey, Devalto had that coming. Some people were like, nah, he wasn't like that. They asked me. I said, you know, they were like, no, for real, what? You know what I mean? I'm going to be quiet and play stupid because I don't know. But it happened. Now, let me tell you this. There's going to be a lot of people, you know, that think that that's just the end of the story. And that's what happens. You know, he was gone. And I know they just had an anniversary from his death the other day, and that's what made me, think about this story and telling it, But one thing I'll say is for sure is the way that people portray certain people in death is not always how they are in real life, all of a sudden this is a good guy that, he never did. I never hurt nobody. No, you always have someone else do it for you, Frank. You know what I mean? What about the little league catcher? You wanted to kill him, Frank, right? You always want someone else to do it for you. But really, that's not the true measure of the man and the content of his character. Really, you judge him by what he's done when he was on this earth. And so there's going to be a lot of conflicting stories there. Like I said, Tao wasn't the greatest person in the world, but he was a person. And now he's going to suffer the death penalty for this. You take someone, you give someone. I guess that's how the game goes, right? Or that's how they want it. But I'm sure he sits there, he's been locked up incarcerated now for 15 years or 20 years. And I'm sure he sits down and he thinks about that every day. Now, here's a quick side note to that story. So the Officer Gray gets murdered, and he's gone. And the trial, they had to move the trial up out of Merced because, there was going to be, it was, you know how it is. We're going to move it out of the state or out of the county because, they can't find unbiased jurors or whatever the case may be. Whatever their way to facilitate a conviction, they figured all that out. So they move it to, I forget what county, and he's doing time or whatever. And literally, I remember we were in front of the homeboys pad one time and fully active, we're functioning for reals. And we were going at it with the Merced Gangster Crip. There was a few of them that were on the streets. And at this time they were hitting their pads, man. They were hitting their pads constantly. They were raiding them. A lot of them caught Fed cases. They damn near RICO'd them. I mean, there was actually, I remember a newspaper article that said that the Merced Gangster Crips gang was on life support in the city of Merced. It was bad, right? And we were like, damn, they're going the extra mile. Okay, they're doing what they're doing. We don't have to worry about it because they're getting rid of a warrant. And I remember these black guys pull up and we're in front of my homeboy's yard, and his dad's an old veterano. His dad, when I say veterano, I don't mean from the hood. His dad's a veteran, Army veteran. And he tells us, hey kids, get in my yard. Because he's a homeowner. So we get in his yard and he's like, what do you want? He tells the cops, this is my private property. Unless you have a search warrant, we ain't got nothing to say. But we got nothing for you, man. You want some of my cornbread? You ain't gonna get my cornbread, right? And he was a brother. That's the cool part about it. So, it makes sense. But anyways, he's like, nah. And they were like, nah, we're just here to talk to you guys. But we ain't gonna talk back. So what's happening? And they're like, if something was to happen to these guys, if we're just letting you know that it is what it is. And I'll never forget that in my heart. I said, wow, and it was at that moment we had a junta and we decided to cease all activity concerning these guys because we were not going to assist what we figured was a rogue situation. Maybe that was wrong of us. Maybe we should have capitalized on that. But then I wouldn't be here talking to you guys today. We decided to go the route we were going to go because we've always been about black and brown unity, especially in my barrio, and it just wasn't a good look, man, especially when people are going through it, just based on a certain situation. We were hearing the rumors. Anyways, yeah, that's the story, man. It happened. And, it's unfortunate for that guy's family. Condolences, again, to Officer Gray's family. Like I said, every interaction I had with him was very professional. I can't speak bad upon his name, only what I heard, but not what I know to be true. And that's facts. It's unfortunate this type of stuff happens. Two families suffer, and they continue to suffer, and it's just what it is. Anyways, thank you for allowing me today to profile that here. It's a story I'll never forget, and a story that you can look into and see that there's more than meets the eye right there. With that being said, I hope that you move with a purpose. Get every single thing that you want coming to you. Remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the strive, the struggle for your own family. I understand situations can get ugly. Ugly are situations, but it's just what it is, If you like this, hit that like and subscribe. Remember, I also got Gutters Collective. Go over there, dropping bangers every day over there. So sprinkle the woods in, brother. I'm over there, brother. Mean Gene. You know what I mean. If not, if you don't like me, if you hate me because you ain't me or whatever the case may be, then hit me with the thumbs down. Heavy's gonna be the head that wears the crown. I'm gonna continue to strive and struggle for what I honestly truly believe in, and that's coming together of all people and giving you guys real stories, all facts. Google it if you don't believe me. You already know what it is. The gun. Bang, bang.